freshman 15. The simple fact is that you go to high school to learn many things, but one of the main things you learn in high school, if you're academically successful enough, is habits for university. And it's the position today of side of the proposition that one important habit that you need to maintain throughout university and throughout the rest of your life altogether is to be fit. Because, of course, there's a lot of negative consequences that come along with that. Now, in my speech today, I'm going to be doing two things for you. First of all, I'm going to be making the case that we've seen so far from side opposition, and then I'm going to be going over the final point for side proposition, how this is within the purview of the government, and why it's essentially the reason why, how this is in line with how we raise our children. But first, let's deal with what we heard from the last speaker. Now, he tried to tell us in his refutation that we're confusing the difference between children at a young age and children that are in high school. Well, the simple fact of the matter is that children at a young age make unwise and uneducated decisions. And another fact of the matter is that children who are in high school make unwise and uneducated decisions. The simple fact is that when you're in high school, you are being bred to enter as a member into the workforce and into society as an individual. We think this is ridiculous to assume that children inherently only learn things at a young age. We think that this still is something that this is still a habit that can be developed at a later age. It might not be as biological as it is when we teach children, but it's still something we can develop among high school students, and it's still something we should pursue. With regards to the health issues, it's another reason why we need to take this just from having it mandatory at the younger levels to make it all of high school. The simple fact is that you don't stop being at risk for heart disease and being at risk for becoming obese after grade 10. This lasts throughout your entire life, and therefore you need to be fit throughout your entire life. Which is why, to the degree to which the government has influence on you, they should mandate physical activity for you. Now, in his first point, he tried to talk about rights and equality, and how we're restricting the ability to go to university for individuals who might be incredibly intelligent, but simply won't meet these requirements. We think that an individual in society, and this also falls into the idea of specialization, we think that individuals in society inherently need to bring more than one thing to the table. Sure, they might be very smart, but being intelligent doesn't guarantee success. Same thing with being physically active doesn't guarantee success. One fundamental misconception the side opposition has from side proposition is that we're not disregarding academic merit whatsoever. We're keeping the tests and the diploma exams and what else exists in various countries in order to receive a high school with graduation diploma. We're keeping these in place. We're simply adding another requirement that enables a divergence away from specialization. In no way are we restricting rights of individuals. We think that we're giving individuals an ability to diversify themselves. We're giving individuals a right to develop as people in more than one way. We tried to talk about genetic obesity. But once again, we think that with enough years of diligent work, and of course, these programs are tailored to help the individuals succeed towards these final exams. We think that with sufficient work over the course of 3 years, you will be able to achieve this regardless of what sort of predispositions you have going into it. Now, in terms of specialization, their second point, they try to prove to us that specialization is inevitable. It's something we need to follow and something we need to adapt to. We would reject this. We think specialization in itself weakens the society. We think that individuals in society should bring more than one thing to the table, because if they're one sort of dream or whatever they have with them and hope to succeed with fails, they can fall back on something. The simple fact is that when we have an overly specialized society with individuals that are very intelligent, individuals that are very physically active, and they're very separated, and there's very few in the same, we don't see a very successful society. He tried to tell us that, well, countries like China and Japan are surpassing us and becoming more and more specialized. But one thing we need to realize is that schools in places like China mandate physical activity. We need to realize that it's not all aggressive specialization like we're seeing, but instead of a tendency towards the opposite of specialization, which is generalization. We think citizens are more successful when they're able to succeed at multiple pursuits and therefore can adapt better to things such as failure or financial insolvency, which are becoming very much a reality for individuals in society. Yes?
Okay, human knowledge is so vast. Is it actually possible to be a jack of all trades in the 21st century?
We're not saying that you have to be a jack of all trades and be generalized in every single manner. We're simply saying that if you're going to be smart and go to university, you also have to know how to bench press at least your weight. Well, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but still, you have to be smart. We're not saying that everyone has to know everything. You simply have to be able to handle yourself in a physical capacity, but also in an intellectual capacity. And this in turn will improve society's success rates and improve our citizens' overall happiness and possible income as well. But let's move on to the final point now for side proposition. How do we raise our children? Now, what are the goals of education? Well, of course, there's learning. want to improve the intelligence of our citizens, but there's also personal development. When we look at high school, we not only encourage individuals to learn a lot, but we also encourage them to interact with other people. The simple fact is that education, to a certain degree, is designed to socialize our citizens, and as well as educate them. We think that this aggressive socialization can be transitioned into physical education. Physical education is, in fact, a tool of socialization. It encourages social interaction. It encourages positive things such as teamwork, such as, of course, attending your classes. We think that when you have this personal development goal as an aspect of society, as an aspect of education, we can tie in physical education to that as well. So we're talking about personal development here, but we also want to talk about the sort of precedent that exists for this already. For instance, in a lot of countries, for instance, in the CBE, it's a mandated health class called Career and Life Management. It's a mandatory course you have to take to graduate. It's not all that competitive. It's very easy to do very well at it. But it's something that is generally considered to give us a set of skills that we need to operate in society. Whether we were incredibly smart, if we do not have these skills, for instance, it teaches things like how to move out, I'll take it in a moment, how to manage yourself financially. If you do not have these skills, you are not allowed to graduate. The simple fact is there's a precedent for to a certain degree, generalizing our citizens, and we should expand that to involve physical education.
It's not that difficult to do well in career and life management. Does the government model not suffer the same problems that it could be shafted into
We think, all right, I understand, but the consequences of not being fit are a lot harsher. Because if you're not fit, you're incredibly more likely to develop things such as heart disease. We think that the Western world is renowned for being one of the healthiest places on earth. And the simple fact is when we allow our citizens to get fat and to become obese and to eat whatever they want, it leads towards a negative sort of downward spiral. Now, opposition tries to tell us about negative memories. People have an adverse reaction because they'll remember being bullied in physical education. Once again, we think that the program itself is tailored towards success, and it is designed to motivate individuals towards achieving their results on the final exam of physical education in order to graduate. We don't think that this is inherently mutually exclusive with this resolution. And the same thing with managing junk food. Once again, the mandating of physical education and the perhaps, taxation of junk food or somehow regulating it for youth, these ideas are not mutually exclusive. We don't need to choose between one or the other. We can do both or we can do none of them. And we're showing the inherent benefits of going with mandated physical education. Now, another idea I'd like to bring forward is decision-making. The simple fact of the matter is that rebellious teenagers make bad decisions. Physical education encourages a sort of precedent in society for encouraging positive and effective decisions among children. And this is where the government comes into play. Because the simple fact is that children, yes, students in high school, grade 11 and 12, or under the age of 18, they're still children, are incapable of making correct decisions on a lot of situations, are incapable of making intelligent decisions, and the government steps in to make the correct decision for them and encourage a positive attitude and habit of correct decision-making and intelligent decision-making for the future. So because physical education represents the other goal of education in total, personal development, and because it supports healthy living lifestyles, and because it supports academia, we are proud to propose this motion. Thank you.